Hello. So you can hear me, everybody? Good evening to all of you. Welcome to class. Now today we are going to do the second part of the same topic which we did in the previous class. We won't be doing law today, okay? Because I just want to finish off this particular topic in economics. I hope that is fine with everybody. Okay, so this will be an added advantage to the students who attended one class this week. That was a class which was taken by me, actually scheduled for someone else. So I taught the same topic in that class also. So I'm just continuing with this so that everybody can, every MBA student can understand it. Okay. No, that was for Nixon. Yeah, that is a separate issue. The class which I took this week was for Professor Vashisht. That was the class which I took on Friday. If you remember, Prabha was there, and I think Seher was also there. Prabha and Seher were there. Kelvin was also there, I think so. Yeah. Good evening, Prabha. Hi, Renan. All right. So let us just continue, and before starting with this topic, I will just revise the previous thing in a gist so that you can just recollect what was done in the previous class. We discussed about the production function with one variable factor of production in the short run. So the first thing which we discussed in that class was what are the factors of production. There are basically three important factors of production which we include in our studies for consideration: land, labor and capital. Alright, so out of these, land and capital is the factor which remains fixed. Labor is the only factor which we can change in the short run. We can make arrangements for labor, whether there's an increase in demand or decrease in demand. It can be adjusted, but not for capital and land. They can be varied only in the long run. In fact, land can be varied in the very long run. Okay, over a period of 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, in that period. So even when we talk about long run, we assume capital and labor to be the variable factor of production, the factor which is going to be vulnerable to us. All right. So for the sorry, I just moved away from the topic. So in that class we discussed about the production function with one variable factor, and there was a particular equation which described the production function. Can anyone tell me? Q is equal to F K comma L comma LA. Okay. So in this, yes, Nixon, FLK, it's a function of K, L and LA. So can you tell me what does this Q stands for? Good evening, Kelvin. So what is this Q? Q is the total output. Yeah. What is this K? K is for capital. Okay, K is for capital. L is for land and LA is for labor. Yes. So these are the three factors of production on which the production of a firm depends. So that is why this equation comes up. Q is equal to FKLA. That is, Q, total output, is a function of capital, land and labor. So now going forward, today we are going to discuss about the producer's equilibrium in the long run. So long run is the factor in which all the factors can be varied, especially we will take into consideration capital and labor. We will assume land to be constant. So for this analysis, there are two important things which we need to know. One is ISO cost and other is ISO quant. Okay, ISO cost and ISO quant are two things. Yeah, Prabha. These are the two things which we need to know. We need to know the concept of these two so that we can come to the producer's equilibrium. Producer's equilibrium is totally dependent on this. Now, what is producer's equilibrium? What is that state? This is just a general question. Producer equilibrium. What do you think is that about? When a producer is said to be in equilibrium? This question is for everybody. Production is equal to demand. Okay, Nixon, that is correct. Production depends on the demand in the market. So I was just asking, what is this producer's equilibrium? What is this equilibrium position? Equilibrium means the best point, isn't it? The optimum point for anybody. So when everything is stable, it is good, it is in our favor. That point is the point of equilibrium. So yes, Anshul, that's correct. Where the producer reaches his optimum point. Now, what is that optimum point from the point of view of a producer? Yeah, everything is balanced, Fatima. So what do you think the equilibrium point is for a consumer? Where the demand curve and demand curve meets. Nixon, right now we are talking with perspective of the consumer, with perspective of the producer. So we will not consider the demand aspect right now. Okay, demand and supply, we will not consider that. We'll focus on the production thing. So this equilibrium is a state in which the producer reaches a point at which he is able to give the maximum output at the minimum of cost. That is the state of producer's equilibrium. Every producer wants to put in minimum of money into the business. So like a minimum of cost he wants to incur, and he wants to sell the maximum quantity to earn the maximum profits. So that is what this equilibrium about. It is a state in which the producer is at a point at which he is incurring minimum of cost and he is getting the maximum profits. He is making the optimum use of his available resources. Okay, so that is about producer's equilibrium. Now what is the connection of this ISO cost and ISO quant with the producer's equilibrium? That we need to know. Now this ISO cost, in both of these terms we see word ISO is common. So this ISO means same. Okay, it's a word that means same. So ISO cost means same cost and ISO quant means same quantity. Alright. So far the things are clear. Everybody? Any doubts? Okay. So going forward, ISO means same. So this ISO cost is a type of graph in which we see the different combination of inputs which we can use to get the desired level of output within our budget. R means the budget of the producer. Okay, every producer is bound by a budget. So what he can what options he can choose in that budget. Options of input. Input means the labor and capital which he is going to use for manufacturing. What quantity of labor and capital he can use simultaneously to get the desired level of output. That will be shown by the ISO cost of a firm. Okay, now this is ISO cost. So what is the cost for the factors of production? If I talk about labor, what is the cost of labor? Is labor free or we have to pay something? We have to incur some kind of cost for the labor. That cost for the labor is wages. Yes. So yes, it's salary plus wages, Nixon, but we include only wages into our studies. So wages is the cost for the labor. 1 minute. For labor it is wages. Now talking about capital. What is the meaning of capital? Money invested. Yes. Investment. Money. Cost of the material of production. No, Nixon. You mean the raw material. That is basically this capital is basically the amount of money which we invest in our business. It can be liquid cash or it can be the amount that we invest in our machinery, equipments and other things like building, premises, land which we acquire, everything. So that all will be the capital investment. Nixon, we are talking about production only, yes, but right now we won't be talking about the cost of raw materials, okay? Cost of raw material is a separate approach for calculating the producer's equilibrium. That is the marginal cost and marginal revenue approach, okay? So right now we are not talking about that. Right now we are discussing only this ISO cont and ISO cost concept. So capital is the amount of money which we invest in the business. So now capital is yes, Farooq, variable and fixed cost, but right now we are not discussing about cost. We are discussing about the these factors of production. So I was telling about the capital. So for the cost for capital is interest. Okay, the cost for capital is interest. Now those who were there in the last class, can you tell me how does a firm incurs interest? How does the capital cost interest to the firm? Suppose the firm is short of money. It is not having enough money. So what will the producer do? He will borrow money from the market. And for that money, he will have to pay the interest. Isn't it? So that interest is the cost of capital to the producer. But now, if the producer uses his own money into the business, he invests his own money into his business, will the capital free or still it will have any cost for the producer? He is using his own money, so he's not taking it from the market. So will it be free or will it be any will it incur any cost to him? Liability. Okay. You know about opportunity cost. what is this opportunity cost? Anyone knows about this? Opportunity cost is the cost of next best alternative. Yes, foregone alternative, exactly, Kelvin. Cost of next best alternative. So suppose if the firm Yes, Nixon, that's correct. Now I'll just tell to the other students, like suppose the producer is using his own money, he is taking money from his own resources and putting them into the business. Then in that case, if he would not have been doing this production, if he would not have been indulged in this, what he would have done, he would have taken the money and invested it into a bank, isn't it? So in that case, if he would have invested the money in bank, he might have earned a lot of interest from the bank. So that is the meaning of the opportunity cost. In case the producer uses his private money, his own money into the business, in that case we assume that he is not investing in the bank, so he is letting go that interest which would have been paid to him by the bank on his investment. So that is the meaning of the opportunity cost. So interest given by the bank is the opportunity cost for that money of the producer. He is letting go that benefit. Instead, he is investing the money into the business. So in any case, he will have to incur the interest. If he is taking the money from outsiders, he will have to pay it to them. And if he is using his own money, he is not getting any interest from the bank. So that interest is the cost of capital to the producer or the manufacturer. Okay? Is it clear? How is the interest the cost of capital? Everyone? Anyone having any doubt? Because it's little confusing. So if you have any doubts. Okay, so labor and capital, these are the two factors which we can vary, and these are the costs of these two factors. So now we come to ISO cost. ISO cost is a graphical representation. So suppose this is an ISO cost line. This is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. Let us assume this axis is for wages and this axis is for R. R means the rate of interest for the capital. So this is R. So this is the ISO cost line. So this line means that or rather shows the various combination of capital and labor which we can use to get output for the firm, the desired level of output. Now suppose this one. This is 5 units and it may be, if I assume this as the origin O, so 5 units and this may be 1 unit. So 5 units of interest and 1 unit of wages or labor. Then this would mean, this is another combination. This may be 4 and this may be 2. 4 units of capital and 2 units of labor. Now this ISO cost line will be restricted by a budget. Suppose the manufacturer is having a budget of his own. Every manufacturer is bounded by a budget. He cannot go beyond his limit. So in case he has allotted $100 to the manufacturing, so every combination which is going to fall on this ISO cost line would mean $100 to the manufacturer. It will always be $100, means like 5 units of capital and 1 unit of labor. The cost will be $100. 4 units of capital and 2 units of labor, again $100. Suppose I take this one, 3 units of capital and it will fall over here, and 3 units of labor. Again, what will be the cost of this? 3 units of capital and 3 units of labor, the new combination. What will be the cost of that? $100. Okay. Yes, it will be $100 US, $100. So whatever combination we choose, it will always be $100 or it will be within $100. It cannot be more than that. It has to be within $100, and exactly $100 is the best criteria. So this is an ISO cost line. So if I say what is an ISO cost line, we can define it as a line which shows the various combination of inputs which a producer can use to manufacture desired level of product in his budget. Okay. So that is the definition for ISO cost line. It is something like indifference curve analysis, which we did 2-3 classes back, if you remember, something like that. Now, next is the ISO quant. Okay. Now, what is this ISO quant? Now this ISO quant is again a graphical representation. It is the locus of all the points which will represent the different combinations of input which a manufacturer can use to produce the desired level of output. 200 units. Just a second. So it is like a semicircle. ISO quant is a semicircular representation of the various combinations which we can use to produce the desired output. In this case, I have taken 200 units. 1 minute. Yes. Now in this case, the manufacturer is aiming at 200 units of output. So if I'll plot the points over here. So this may be again 5 units and this may be 1 unit. Now I talk about this point. It may be 3.5 and here it may be 2. Now I take this one, the third combination. It may be 3, let's keep it 3, and this will be 3.5. So this is an ISO quant. ISO quant means same quantity. Okay. So this ISO quant means it is a graph which shows the various combination of inputs which we can use to manufacture a desired level of output. Like for manufacturing 200 units, we can use 5 capital and 1 labor, or we can use 3.5 capital and 2 labor, or we can use 3 capital, 3.5 labor, whatever. If I take another point, it will give the same level of output. Okay, any combination or any point which will fall on this semicircle will show a combination of goods which will give 200 units of output. Not combination of goods, combination of inputs, which is going to give 200 units of output. Okay, that is why it is called iso quantity, iso quant. Okay, same quantity, equal quantity. Any combination, it will give 200 units of output. Now, I draw another one. Like this is another one. Now, this isoquant means more units of output, maybe 300 units. Now, another one. This may be less, maybe 150 units. So, the closer we are towards the origin, this is the origin, this point is origin. I'll just show you. This is origin O. So closer we are to the origin, lower is the volume of output. Further we are away from the origin, more is the level of output. Okay. This graph is closer, so it is 150 units. This graph is much away, so it is 300 units. Okay. So going back to this one, if we take 300 units, we take any point like this one and this one. So whatever it is, it's 4.5 maybe. 4.5 and this may be 2.5. So 4.5 then 2.5. This combination is going to give 300 units of output to us. Okay, so this is an isoquant. It is a locus. Locus means when you join the different points, the figure which you get, the graph that you get, that is the locus. So it is the locus of all the combination of inputs which can be used to manufacture a desired level of output. Okay, is it clear to everybody? This concept of isoquant. Any doubts, anyone? You can raise your hands. Okay. So this was isoquant. Now what is its significance in the producer's equilibrium? The significance of isoquant and isocost. What is their importance? Now, how do they both are tools which we use for arriving at the equilibrium point of the producer. Now this is a graph. This is Y. This is X. This is O. This is an isocost line. And this is an isoquant curve. An isocost line and suppose this is the isoquant curve. So this is the point, let us name this point as A. So at, yes, tangent, Rinan, that's correct. So at point A, the isocost line is tangent to isoquant curve. So this is the point of equilibrium for the producer. Okay, he will be at the most profitable condition at this point if he will manufacture this number of units. So this is like X, sorry, Y hai, this is Y actually, XY, and the other one can be, let us name this one M, N. So at point A, the isocost line XY is tangent to isoquant Mn. So point A is the point of equilibrium for the firm or for the producer. Okay, so this is how we arrive at the equilibrium point of the producer, and this is the reason why isoquant and isocost are very important in arriving at the equilibrium for the manufacturer. So consumer is at equilibrium at the point at which the isocost line is tangent to the isoquant curve, or the point at which the isocost line touches the isoquant curve. Okay, they should be tangent. They should not intersect each other. They should be tangent. There's a difference between intersection and tangency. Intersection is when the two lines cut each other or the two things cut each other. So they are not cutting each other. They are just touching each other at a particular point. So this is an essential condition for tangency, and tangency is an essential condition for the producer's equilibrium. Okay, clear to everybody? Okay, 1 minute. There's a one question. There's a big question from somebody. Let me read. Surajit says, ma'am, in isoquant you said that the more close we are to the origin, the units will be low, and the farther it will be high. What about the cost? Same will be the funda with cost, Surajit. Okay. The higher the isocost line, more will be the cost, and lower it will be, the lesser will be the cost. But cost is not very important at this point because we already are going with our budget. We are constrained by a budget and we are restricting to that only. That isocost line is something within the budget. Okay, that was a good question. Nixon, all this is based on research and analysis. This all work is done by the experts. There are experts appointed by the company who undertake this job. Okay, you know, we do forecasting, demand forecasting. So this is all related to that only. If you remember, we did demand forecasting topic 2-3 classes back. So it's like that only, somewhere related to that. Now going to the PPT, let's see that. So what is producer's equilibrium? The ultimate aim of any firm is to earn the maximum profit possible. So producer's equilibrium is the situation of profit maximization. At equilibrium, the firm has the maximum level of output being produced and earning the maximum profit out of the same. Okay, the output will be maximum and the profit will be maximum. Profit will be maximum when the cost will be minimum. So it is the equilibrium level of output which the producer will produce at minimum cost and sell to earn maximum profit. This is about the equilibrium of the producer. Now we need to know about both isoquant and isocost. It is attained at the point. The equilibrium is attained at the point where the isocost line is tangent to the isoquant curve in the graph that we have discussed and seen. Now what is an isoquant? It refers to equal quantity. It is the locus of points showing the combination of factors, example labor and capital, which gives the producer the same level of output. So it reveals the combination of input to get the quantity of output. Slope of the graph gives the marginal rate of technical substitution. MRTS, it is the marginal rate of technical substitution. That means by how much are you increasing the number of labors to attain the same level of output at, sorry, I'll explain it again. The marginal rate of technical substitution is at what rate are you substituting the labor for the capital. Okay, like if the machine has the capacity of manufacturing 5 units and you do away with, you don't want to take the help of the machine due to whatever may be the reason, due to certain reason, then in that case, how many labors you are going to increase to achieve that target of 5 units. Okay, that is the marginal rate of technical substitution. The rate at which labor is substituted for the capital or for the machinery, for the tool, that is the marginal rate of technical substitution. Clear? So this is an example of an isoquant. On the y-axis is the capital, on the x-axis is the unit of labor, and Q is the level of output that you want to manufacture. So any combination you choose, it is going to give this Q units of output at this in this graph. Now, what is isocost? It refers to equal cost. So it is the cost of purchase of two factors, capital and labor of production in a budget. So isocost line shows the locus of points showing the combination of inputs that can be purchased with the available budget. Using the budget constraint, how much can be purchased, the various combinations, that is depicted with the help of an isocost line. The slope gives the ratio of wages and the rate of interest. And the slope of this line is W upon R. W stands for the wage which we are going to pay, and R is the rate of interest for the capital. That is for the slope. Actually, we don't need to calculate the slope. Now here is an isocost line. You can see capital and labor marked on separate axes. At this combination, 8 units of capital. And how many units of labor are we using at this point? How many units of labor are we using? Nixon 0, Fatima 0, Prabha 0, Monachin 0, Mumtaz 0. Okay, if everyone is saying 0, then it should be 0 only. Yes, the right answer is 0. At this point, 6 units of capital and 3 units of labor. 4 units of capital and 6 units of labor. 2 units of capital and 9 units of labor. At this point, the capital is 0 and the labor is 12. Means we are investing all the money on labor. We are doing away with the capital. So these are two extreme points. At this point, 100% of money is spent on labor, and over here 100% is spent on capital. So this is an isocost line. any combination we pick, it will be equal to the available budget. Suppose the available budget is 20. So any combination, 6 capital, 3 labor will be 20. Or 2 capital, 9 labor will be equal to 20 only. So it will be within the budget. So producer's equilibrium. It is attained at the point where the isocost line is tangent to the isoquant curve. It is the point where the isoquant curve just touches the isocost line. It doesn't intersect. It should be just tangent. So the slope of the isoquant curve and isocost line are the same at this point. And this is the MRTS, that is marginal rate of technical substitution, wages upon the rate of interest. So MRTS is also calculated in the same way, and the slope of the graph is also calculated in the same manner. Now here is one graph showing the same thing. This is the isocost line, isoquant curve. This is the point of equilibrium for the manufacturer. So this units of capital and this unit of labor will give the optimum output. Okay, I'll just write the definition over there, MRTS. Okay, next one, the rate at which the labor is substituted for the capital. That is the definition of MRTS. And how do we calculate it? We use the formula wages upon the rate of interest. Now there are two approaches to this profit maximization or the equilibrium of the consumer. One is this one, consumer I said, it should be producer. This one is isocost isoquant method, and the other is marginal revenue and marginal cost method. Right now we are discussing only this one, because if we'll discuss the other one you'll get confused. Now you can see factor X, factor Y. This is a graph showing the equilibrium point of the manufacturer. So over here 400 units of output we need, and Q is the point of equilibrium, because at this point isocost line CD is tangent to the isoquant P. P is equal to 400. Okay, so and any point beyond this Q, if I talk about S or I talk about R, is it something that we want to attain, or the producer will aim at point R or point S? Will he want that? Prabha is saying no. Okay, why no? Why will he not aim at point R and S? Why, Mumtaz? Higher labor cost, less production. Exactly. The cost, you can see this is an isocost line and it is at a higher plane, like it is above CD. So that would mean a higher cost. So that is why he will not want to attain point S or point R, because point R and point S shows higher cost to the manufacturer. They are at a higher side. They are away from the origin. That is why. So then why not any point on this one? This line AB. He can choose any point on this line AB also then. Yes, that's correct. It's no, but why is he not doing that? Because any point on this line AB will mean lesser production. Production less than 400 units. Okay. And moreover, it is not touching the point as said by Prabha. This is the point which is satisfying the condition of equilibrium. That is, the point should be tangent. The isocost line should be tangent to the isoquant curve. So that is why Q is the equilibrium point. Now here is the explanation for that graph. Now in the graph, CD is the isocost line that is tangent to the isoquant curve 400 units at point Q. The firm employs OC units of factor Y and OD units of factor X. Now let us see that. OC units of factor Y and OD units of factor X to manufacture 400 units of output. In the graph, any point below Q on the isocost line AB is desirable as it shows lower cost, but it is not attainable for producing 400 units of output. That we have discussed. And points R and S above Q on isocost lines G and H show higher cost. That also we have discussed. Any point above Q is on the other isocost line and it would cost a lot. So these are unattainable by the producer with CD budget. Hence point Q is the least cost point for producing 400 units of output with OC units of factor Y and OD units of factor S. So point Q is the equilibrium of the producer. And at this point, the slope of the isoquants equal to the slope of the isocost line. That is also one condition necessary for the equilibrium. Now this is the other approach, that is marginal revenue and marginal cost approach. We are not doing it today. This is an explanation to that only. So therefore the firm produces the maximum level of output with minimum cost of production and earn the maximum profit during the producer's equilibrium. For final clear-cut point is isocost is for producer's desired outcome. Isoquant is for less labor cost, more production. Yes, Prabha, isoquant is for the production only. It tells the quantity of production, and isocost focuses on the cost part. We have to consider both. The cost should be minimum and the production should be maximum, attainable. Okay. So now this is this PPT is done. Now there's a video which I'll show you. It's a video which has the explanation, like it's a revision of the topic which we have done today. So you can just watch it. It becomes more clear to you.
Alright, so today's video actually starts chapter 3, which is the behavior of the firm. So we're trying to understand how firms make certain decisions. This is similar to what we learned in chapter 2, right? So in chapter 2, we understand how consumers behave. Now we're just trying to understand how firms behave and how they make certain decisions, alright? And we're going to use the isocost and the isoquant to help us understand this. And of course, we always begin by asking ourselves, so what does the isocost and the isoquant mean? Alright, so let's explore that into further detail. Let's begin with the isocost. The term iso here is actually a Greek word that means same. So the isocost basically translates directly into same cost. It is a graph that shows all the combinations of inputs given the same cost budget. Notice that the word same is in the definition of the isocost, and that's why it's called the isocost, right? So when a firm wants to produce certain goods, it's going to need some resources, okay? And those are the inputs that I'm referring to. In general, we're going to take a look just at two types of resources. We're going to take a look at capital, which is denoted by a capital K, and labor, which is denoted by a capital L. And to employ these kinds of resources, the firm is going to incur some kind of cost, which we denote as C0, C1, or C2, right? So this denotes the different levels of cost that the firm can actually incur. So for labor, we pay labor wages, right? So it's denoted by a capital W, and W here refers to the nominal wage. And as for capital, we actually incur a interest rate cost. Now, just let me explain why the cost of capital is actually the interest rate. It is because there is an opportunity cost of not putting this money into the bank to earn that interest rate. Instead, the firm is taking this amount of money and putting it into machines, vehicles, stuff like that to create those goods. That is why the opportunity cost of capital is actually the interest rates. Okay, so I can actually represent the ISO cost in a mathematical equation as well. It will be the total cost is equals to the wage rate times the amount of labor plus the interest rates times the amount of capital that we employ. Okay, to illustrate the ISO cost, we're going to need a graph with labor on the horizontal axis and capital on the vertical axis. It is going to be a straight line because it is we're actually referring to a linear combination of inputs, right? And the horizontal axis, the intercept, is going to be the total cost divided by the nominal wage, and this is the total amount of labor if 100% of my cost goes into labor. And this vertical intersect over here is the total cost divided by the interest rates, and it is the total capital that I can get if 100% of my cost is allocated to just capital. Alright, so I think this is pretty straightforward. Now the slope of the ISO cost is actually the wage rate divided by the interest rates. I'm not going through this in so much detail because I think by looking at all this stuff, you actually recall chapter 2's concept of the budget constraint. It is very, very similar to the budget constraint. And if you're going to compare the budget constraint with the ISO cost, let's take a look at what the budget constraint wants to do. It wants to go upwards, right? Because the consumer having a higher budget will actually let him buy more good X and good Y. However, for an ISO cost, he actually wants to move inwards. Why? Because to achieve a lower cost, you just move towards the origin, right? And that is what the firm is trying to do. It is trying to minimize its cost. We'll go into that later. Now let's talk about the ISO quant. And again, ISO here refers to same, and quant is of course quantity, so it means same quantity. So the ISO cost is actually a graph that shows all the different combinations of inputs that a firm is going to require to produce the same quantity of a particular good. Okay, just let me show you different combinations of inputs. So maybe we have 10 units of labor and 20 units of capital, or 20 labor and 15 capital, or 30 labor and 5 capital. It doesn't matter which one of these bundles, the firm can use this to produce X naught amount of goods, for example. So maybe X naught is, say, 15 units of X. If you're going to increase the quantity produced to X1 or X2, you're going to have to increase the amount of inputs that they put into the bundles, right? So in conclusion, all these bundles here can actually produce X naught amount of X. Okay, so that's what it means by the different combination of inputs that produces the same quantity of a particular good. So let's look at this in the graphical
Thanks for watching a sample of the Quickonomics online learning experience. We hope you've enjoyed it. We believe that true happiness lies in realizing ambitions and dreams. That's why we make our products specific to your needs, simple to understand and captivating, so that you can learn effectively while saving time, realizing those ambitions and dreams. The Quickonomics online learning experience is a range of supplementary lectures, tutorials, and exam solutions in the form of videos, which you can conveniently view anytime, anywhere. Watching our videos before and after your regular lessons at school, we aim to give you joy in learning and build academic confidence at the comfort of your own relaxed learning environment. So how can you begin? We welcome you to purchase Quickie Dollars to redeem the videos for full access to the Quickonomics online learning experience. Thank you for starting with Quickonomics.
So let's look at this in a graphical.
This brings us to the end of that video and to the end of that class as well. So all of you, please take care, enjoy yourselves, and it will be really good if you'll go through your textbooks once so that everything becomes clear to you. okay, so that you may have no doubts with this. So it will be good if you'll go through your text. Okay, thank you so much for your time, everybody. Please enjoy your week ahead. Take care, and thanks for all the time that you have given me so far. Bye. Take care, everybody. See you. Bye.